Australia began its European chapter as one enormous penal colony for Britain's less-behaved citizens. Steal a loaf of bread? They ship you across the planet to a land full of spiders the size of dinner plates, snakes that can kill you before you finish saying crikey, jellyfish that pack the same punch as heartbreak, but way faster, and crocodiles who believe you are the picnic. And then, kangaroos. Cute? Yes, but also fully capable of drop-kicking a grown man into next Tuesday. They're basically buffed deer with pocket space for extra violence. Yet beneath the chaos and critters, Australia glows with pure magic. Landscapes that humble you, oceans that dare you, sunsets that look photoshopped, and skies where the stars actually show up to work. And from this wild sanctuary emerged one of Earth's greatest treasures, Steve Irwin, the guy who loved every creature like it was family, even the ones actively trying to poison him. An Aussie saint with khaki wings, teaching us that dangerous doesn't mean evil, and unknown doesn't mean unloved. He turned crocodiles into rock stars and curiosity into a virtue. We lost him too soon, but his spirit still wrestles gators somewhere in the cosmos. So yes, Australia is the good, beauty, bravery, and Steve Irwin's entire existence. The bad, venom lurking in 97% of the shadows. The ugly, honestly, those giant insects should pay rent. And now, from this land of paradox and poison, comes a mystery so cold it still shivers today. The Tamam Shud case, a silent man, a secret message, and a beach that refused to forget. Tamam Shud, 2 words, small enough to hide in a pocket, but heavy enough to crush a mystery beneath them. In Persian, it means it is finished, the end. But for us, that is exactly where the story begins. Somerton Beach, Australia. December 1st, 1948. The first light of morning spills over the shoreline and reveals a man sitting upright against the seawall, as if he simply fell asleep to the sound of the waves. He wears a crisp suit, polished shoes. A half-smoked cigarette rests on his collar, untouched. His legs are straight, arms calmly by his side. It is a scene too tidy for a natural death. A couple walking their dog spots him first, around 6:30 a.m. They assume he's drunk or perhaps just exhausted from a long night. But by the time the police arrive, they realize he is stone cold. And worse, no one knows who he is. No wallet, no luggage, no hat, which was strange for the time. Every label has been cut out of his clothing, as if someone erased his identity, thread by thread. The beach whispers questions. The body keeps its silence. Only one clue waits in a secret pocket sewn into his trousers, a tiny scrap of paper torn from a rare book. It read, Tamam Shud, it is finished. But the chilling part? While the paper claimed the end had come, this man's story wasn't over. It was about to explode into one of the greatest unsolved mysteries Australia has ever known. The police expected answers. What they got was a puzzle pretending to be a corpse. Detectives attacked the case with old-fashioned grit. Measure, photograph, document, repeat. Fingerprints were lifted and dispatched across Australia, the UK, and the US. The result? No match. His teeth were charted and compared to dental records. The result? Nothing. His hands were clean and soft. He was no laborer. But his legs told a different story. His calf muscles were high and well-developed, his feet oddly shaped. It suggested a man who spent his life marching, or perhaps dancing, like a ballet dancer in pointed shoes. A man of some means, an absolute mystery. Then came the autopsy. Remember, this was 1948. No DNA, no digital databases, just trained eyes and chemical tests. The pathologist opened him up and found a biological war zone. His organs were deeply congested. His spleen was enlarged 3 times its normal size. His stomach was full of blood. The verdict was clear: poison. But here is where the science hit a wall. Tests for common poisons, arsenic, strychnine, cyanide, came back negative. Whatever killed him was swift, lethal, insoluble. It had done its work and then disappeared, like a ghost wiping its fingerprints from the murder weapon. Desperate, the police widened the net. They checked missing person reports nationwide. They raided hotels, boarding houses, and train stations. They even hauled in tailors from across the state to analyze the stitching of his coat. And they found nothing. No name, no past, no story. Witnesses finally came forward. People who had seen him lying on the sand the evening before. They saw him raise an arm and let it drop. They thought he was drunk. They thought he was sleeping it off. They didn't realize they were watching a man die in slow motion. Regret is a cruel witness. Detectives were left building castles out of smoke. Was he a Soviet spy? A jilted lover? A black market courier on the wrong beach at the wrong time? Every theory sounded dramatic, yet none could be proven. With no ID, no motive, and a poison that didn't exist, the investigation slowly suffocated, just like its victim. And today, ask the historians who still cling to this case. They'll tell you the same thing that scrap of paper whispered. This wasn't just a random death. This was a message, and the message remains unfinished. Poison is the weapon of someone who wants to win without getting their hands dirty, but this wasn't just a killing. It was a masterpiece of erasure. Whoever ended the Somerton man's life didn't just get lucky. They were precise. They chose a toxin that did its terrible work and then chemically vanished. This is the calling card of a killer who knows more than just hatred. They knew chemistry. The message wasn't loud. It was total control. A whisper that said, "I can reach you and the world will think you simply fell asleep." If love was involved, it wasn't the soft kind. It was the kind that kills before it cries. But the psychology here feels colder than passion. Minimal mess, maximum silence. The killer didn't just avoid detection, they exploited it. They knew exactly where the forensic science of 1948 would stumble, and they built their trap right there in the blind spot. They were smart, patient, invisible. They walked away from a man dying in plain sight, leaving no footprints and no remorse. This wasn't random. It wasn't an accident. It was a warning that still hangs in the salt air over Somerton Beach, tantalizing us with the perfect crime. At the heart of all this chemistry and conspiracy lies a man. It is easy to forget that amongst the spy theories, there was a human being who once laughed, worked, and dreamed. He was believed to be in his early 40s, a traveler, a thinker, a person who must have meant the world to someone. Yet, silence. Not a single friend or family member ever stepped forward, not because they didn't care, but perhaps because they never knew he was gone. The city of Adelaide treated him with a somber dignity. He was embalmed, preserved in the hope that time would eventually unlock his secret. He was laid to rest in the West Terrace Cemetery, beneath a dry mound of earth and a headstone with a bleak inscription. Here lies the unknown man found at Somerton Beach. A city mourned a stranger. Detectives guarded his identity like a sacred trust. They decided that if they couldn't give him answers, they would at least give him respect. Because the true tragedy here isn't the poison, it isn't the mystery, it's that a whole life, a book of 1,000 untold chapters, ended without a single person left to say his name. But the story didn't end in that grave. We are still looking for him. The Somerton man may be buried, but the questions he left behind are still breathing. We honor his memory not by accepting the silence, but by refusing to let the truth drown in the tide. Because every puzzle out there, every unfinished story deserves a final chapter. But for now, we leave the Australian coast. Next time, join us in Brazil, a remote hillside. 2 men found dead in suits, no signs of struggle, no weapons, just strange lead masks covering their eyes. A coded note investigators never cracked. The lead mask case of Vintem Hill, a riddle of secrecy, radiation, and the unknown. Until then, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, some mysteries never die.